In this video, I'm going to show you how to understand and master the grid and virtual array features in Lightburn. So you've decided to start engraving and cutting projects with your laser cutter. Great decision. For those who haven't met me before, my name is Gil, and together in this video, we're going to share how to use the grid and virtual array features in Lightburn. These two features are really important for accurately laying out your cuts and projects so everything goes according to plan. So if you're looking to get the best results from your laser cutter, then make sure to stick around till the end of the video. Now, these tutorial videos are the foundation to the laser livestream, a growing community of laserologists who support and share their laser journey together. We would love it if you could join us, and you can do that by hitting the subscribe button and bell icon so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming projects and tutorials based around Lightburn, and then join us live for the laser live streams hosted on this channel. They're a lot of fun to be a part of, and it's great to see all the different projects, interviews, and tips and tricks that we share on the live stream. The link to our Facebook group is in the description below, and I look forward to seeing you on the live stream so we can talk more about lasers and Lightburn. Now that you know what we offer to laser users, let's jump into Lightburn so that you can learn all about the grid array tools so that you can make your laser work harder for you and make that sweet, sweet cash. Okay, today we are going through the grid and virtual array in Lightburn. A lot of people do use the grid array, but they don't use all the features that are available when setting up your jobs. And I've had a lot of requests on how to do specific things, which I'm going to go through today in this tutorial. The grid array is also a super fast way to lay out your work, and by using a number of different ways, you can cut down your layout time and material costs. So let's jump into it. I'm going to grab a piece of artwork that I have been playing with. I believe that's in my art library. If you want to know how to use the art library, I have videos, and I'll put a link up on how to set up the art library and use it. So this is the piece that I am going to use today. I have a tendency to use artwork and things from TV shows and movies that I love. So I'm going to ask everyone out there, do you know where this is from? If so, put it in the comments below. You might be able to win yourself a little bit of a prize. So we're going to pretend that the person who runs the Leftorium has come up and they've said, hey Gil, I want to advertise my business by making a whole bunch of badges. I want you to do the job. And they've given us the artwork, we've supplied it. We've also got a border out around. So if we go to the preview, you can see here that we can scan his logo and then cut it out. In fact, it's the other way around. So let me just go into my cuts layers. Let's pop that up the top so you can see. You see the preview here. I always love doing this. I like scanning it just so I can see, yep, I'm scanning the artwork first and then I'm cutting it out. So that's what I like to know, that I've got the processes working. Now we can start playing with the grid array functions. So first of all, this is pretty big. Let's just bring it down a little bit. And you know, we can work out exactly how big you want it. For the sake of this, we're going to say the width is 50 mil. So it's a small little badge. They're going to give them out as promos. We're also going to just move this down into the bottom area. Now, when it comes to the actual grid array tool, it is actually found right here. So we click onto that, and that gives us the grid array pop-up that allows you to do a whole bunch of different things. I've been using this, so I'm just going to quickly reset this a little bit. And one of the first things that you're going to see on the first line is the X columns and the Y columns. The X columns, if you add one more, you'll see down here, it pops up. So we're actually making multiple copies of the artwork instantaneously by aligning or assigning a number to the X columns. So in this case, I can fit 10 badges right across the workspace, which is great. That actually it just worked out that way. For the Y rows, when you add another number, you're actually telling them how many rows you want to add. So in a very short period of time, I've filled the whole area with this graphic. And you can see it's pretty tight, but I'm getting great value out of the material that I can fit into my laser. We can actually refine that as well. Because if you go down to X spacing, this is set at 0, and the way the graphic was actually designed, there's a little bit of padding in there. So we can increase the padding or decrease it. So I can visually, and I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. You can see, wow, okay, I've got a little bit of crossover here. So I can't go that tight, but I can actually see, wow, that is literally on the line. So if I want to take a chance and run a quick test, I can actually put this in such a way that I can get the maximum amount. And I would actually take 2 of these, run the job, see if that curve actually cuts into that bubble. If it's something that I'm not going to be able to notice, that could be something that I could go back to the client and say, hey, is this good enough? If they're like, yep, no problem. But in the case of this actual layout, let me just bring that up. I can't use any of the tools. I'm actually not saving that much space here. Since I'm not going to add any more badges to the area, it's probably worthwhile just fudging that just a little bit and probably even leaving it at 0. And I'll just zoom in real quick. You can see there is quite a gap there. If I go back 1, I've still got the gap, but it's still tight. The tighter it is, the faster your laser is going to run as well. So that is an option. We can also change that height. So if we can see here, we're actually over and going into the badges, but you can actually increase that height. That was touching. You may want to, oh, it's really close to the top too. So, you know, it actually, that looks like a great layout, to be honest with you. Let me just go back in here. You can see it's just coming up to the top of the material. So as long as the material fits in that work area, you're fine. And let's go down to the bottom here. Oh, you see it's out just a touch. Just a touch. All right. So let's go 0. Actually, I think that's more to do with the original layout of where this piece is. So I can, because I'm in the grid array tool, you can't do it. You've got to stop. I actually had it just a little bit out. So let's just move it up in the workspace. Let's go center this now, since we can. Go back in there. Let's go. Oh, see, the spacing is out. So let's go back to 0 for that. I'm just going to quickly get rid of these ones again. We'll do this in the traditional way of using the grid array tool. And I'm going to show you a faster way to do this as well, but I want to show you how it works originally so that you have the power to choose which way you want to use it. So here we go again. There's our 10. These are, I went over, so we'll leave it there. And again, we can check coming in. That looks great. I like moving the grid array pop-up just out of the window so I can actually see the workspace. Again, that's really close. So in this case, I can shift it back a little bit. Come back here, and it's in. Let's go down the block. They're in, and I'd say the other side is in as well. I'm just going to check it right now. All right, so we've got all those in. So that is how you can add artwork into a material area. The total width is something that's really kind of interesting because you can confine where you want to put the material to. So if you have a piece of material that's a little bit shorter, but you want to use it for a job, so it's not a traditional size, you can put the total width of that piece in here and the total height. And what you can do, so let's say we had a piece that's actually 400. You can see that it's now limited the amount. We've lost that last piece. So I think it was 490 originally. You can see that last row is here. If I had a piece that was a little bit shorter and we say 400, it will show me how many pieces of artwork I can put using the grid array function. And again, in the total height, let's say it was 200 instead. So I can actually lay out the artwork to the size of the material that I'm putting into the laser. This is an absolute godsend. Normally, traditionally, I would actually have to go out, make a box, size it up, and use that visually as a cue. But in this case, you can take offcuts, you can take a piece that's been used in a different job and actually bring it into this job and maximize how much you want to use. There's one last thing I want to show using this artwork. I'm just going to make this full size again so that we're all good. I think it was let's say 300. Great, so we've got that like that. I'll just try to center it while I'm in the grid array tool. You don't have access when you're in the pop-up to actually use the tool, so you have to just do it manually. And the last thing is you can actually shift columns. Now in this case, the artwork is pretty centralized, meaning there's not a way to be able to maximize the design, but you can kind of shift those columns. You can start moving them and offsetting them a little bit to see if you can get more material on. And you can do that both on the X and the Y. So this is kind of interesting because you can utilize this in very creative ways. And I'm going to go through that with a different piece of artwork, but I just wanted to introduce it to you now since we had this all laid out. And of course you can just reset it by going to 0. So let's jump out of there. That's the job done. Let's center that again. If this was, I guess, how many we got rows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are 100 badges, 10 by 10. We could save this file, run those 100 badges. Maybe the job is 1,000. We just have to run that 10 times, then process it. And of course, I'm just going to show you really quickly as well. On the back here, we have the job. We're scanning the artwork in as an image, and then we're actually cutting it out. And again, you can see that that line is pretty tight. And if we need to put a little bit of an area in there, we can. So pretty much this, as I was saying before, this is an incredibly fast way of laying out multiple jobs and just basically feeding the machine, getting your laser to do all the hard work, and you basically reaping the reward for it. Let's grab a new file, and I want to show you, we're not going to save it, no, not this time, and I want to show you a little bit more on how to use some of those grid array tools, and then I'm going to show you another kind of really neat trick if you're just doing a job that doesn't need any modifications. So let's go to the window, let's grab the art library here. I'm going to grab this one. Here's another badge. Guys, if you know the reference to this one, please put it down in the comments below. I've been having a great time sharing my passion about cinema and movies, and why not? I'll integrate that into the work that I'm doing. Let's talk about this. In this case, this is line artwork, and I'm going to just get the laser to fill the area inside the badge. I can choose whatever material I want to use, so I could use some color material. And you can see here, I'm just double checking here that my process is working. It's actually cutting it out first and then scanning. I don't want to do that, or filling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the fill on first, select it, move it up. And this is just a habit that I get into. I think it's really important that you do all your artwork before you cut it out, because if there happens to be a little bit of movement, it kind of ruins the job. So here we go. We've got the scan or the fill, and then we've got the line cut. So that's all working well. Let's go. Let's go. Grab the artwork. We want to group it. Sometimes, see, you work so fast sometimes. Wow, what's going on here? That's weird. Let's see. Let's select all of it. Let's group the selection. Thank you. Sometimes I work so quickly, it doesn't do what I want it to do. Don't know if anyone else ever has that problem. But don't feel bad, everyone has an issue. I also find when I'm typing out words, one hand works faster than the other, and I always spell things wrong, which is kind of weird. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to grab it. I'm going to make the height 25 mil. And we're just going to grab that and put him in here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go and take a look at some of the other tools that are available in the array pop-up. So, you know, it's a grid array, I guess. So again, we're just going to, in this case, while we're zoomed in, I'm just going to put these on the area that we can see. Now we've gone through all the basic tools that come with the grid array, But I want to show you something that's really kind of interesting. You can actually shift the direction of how you want to lay things out. It doesn't always have to be from left to right. You can do it from right to left. There's a little pop-up that'll allow you to do that. You can also reverse the direction of whether you want to go up or down. So very quickly you can change where your first piece that you're kind of cloning on the array, it doesn't have to be in that bottom left-hand corner, which for me is the origin point on my laser. So those little sliders help. You can also, let's just zoom in a little bit here so we can see, we can actually shift it by half. You can actually do that by locking that in. You can see once you've done it, it actually puts the half point in there for you. So if you want to come back, you just have to zero it. You can do that on both axes. And again, you can see it puts it straight in there. And let's say if we want to do both of them, it starts being able to create some interesting patterns. And we're going to show you that in a little bit. When you click it off though, it stays where it is. So all you've got to do is just come in here and hit 0 and 0 again. Now, this one's really interesting. If you're doing if you've got a shape and you're doing two of them and you need to have them as opposites, you can actually mirror. And you can see by hitting the toggle here, we're mirroring in the X. So if we go in here, you can see that we've taken the original image and in the X, we've mirrored the opposite one. And you can turn that off and it'll pop directly in as well. I can see just zooming in here, that's that. It's just cutting into that piece a little bit. So I'm just gonna, there you go. I'll just shift it to 0 and we are good. That must have been left over from the last time I used the grid array pop-up. So just be aware that when you are working with this pop-up, it will keep the settings you used last time. So you sometimes may have to come in and actually just tell it, go to 0. We can also mirror in the Y. So we can make them pop up upside down as well. And you can do that for both. I don't know if you want to, but maybe it's a manufacturing thing. Maybe you can fit in more pieces, have them go vertical and then mirror them. And by using both the mirror alternative on the coordinates, you can have them go upside down, but still the right way so that you can use those pieces. If you were making wings for a model, this would be great. You can use a whole bunch of different alternatives. And again, you can do that in the Y as well. You've got a lot of options here, and you can see here, we've got these upside down, but still usable. And depending on your design, you may be able to fit more pieces in by using those options. When I've made all these pieces and I click OK, I have the ability to come into one of these pieces, break it apart. If we go in here, we'll deselect it, or let's make them individual. So I might say, I want to remove that. Oh, actually, you know what? We're going to be a little trickier than that. We may want to go in and just do some kind of individual moving around of parts or words. So I'm going to grab that one. I'm going to grab those. So I might want to make it, let's say, an original. So let's do that. Or in another case, let's put that in the middle. I might want to change in some of these badges just for the sake of being a little different. I may want to grab this guy and change the game out. So I have the ability to go in and actually change my design. And of course I could do that. I could go through all of these, then fix them all up by grouping them. Then I've got a job that I can run. I can do that using the traditional grid array tool. Fantastic. Now, I want to show you a faster way. If you are going to do the same job over and over and over again, there is a much faster way of being able to do this. And this is a new function that came out. A lot of people were talking about it. And it is also accessed from the Create Grid Array pop-up. So we're going to do this. And down here, it has Create Virtual Array. Now, if we click that and say OK, it's cloning this first piece of artwork. And it allows me to change all of these pieces that are here from the same source. So if I wanted to make it bigger or smaller, I can do that. I can also grab and change the angle of what I want to do. And it, as you can see here, as I turn it, it will actually move the piece around, trying to work out how to cut it without losing any of the artwork. So I can do both those functions with the virtual array. What I can't do is select one of these and modify them. You just can't select it. Any changes I make here will also reflect on the other pieces. So let me just quickly break this apart. I'm going to grab him and I'm going to move him, and you can see in real time I'm moving that X across all of them. I'm going to grab the noughts, or any of the stuff that I'm doing here is a real-time change. So if you are, let's say, creating those badges from the first job and you need to change one thing, by using the virtual array, you can do that right across the board. That's not going to be a problem. But again, you are going to lose out on the ability to, let's say, modify things. So there are two really fast ways to lay out your artwork. One of the things that I really enjoy about Lightburn is the fact that you're able to use this tool in two very unique ways. I love seeing people level up their Lightburn game and get to their next project quicker. In fact, I've got a little project myself that I want to run on my laser. So if you want to learn more about how to use Lightburn, feel free to check out some of the videos right here. And don't forget to come back and visit us live when we are on the laser live streams. Right now, I'm itching to get back to my project, so I'll catch you right here next week for the next video. Till then, I'd love to see what you're making, so go and make something amazing.